Hi, everyone. So I'm here today with Ilias Enatron Theodorou from Dignitas, the new head coach. Through my best Greek accent, meaning non-existent on that one for you. I wanted to welcome you to the LCS and give you a chance to talk a little bit about joining the team, who you are, where you're coming from, what your goals and hopes are for next year. So thanks for joining me to have this conversation today.
Thank you for having me, Tim. It's a great honor being here with you. So as for a small background history on me,
Sure.
I used to be in the pre-ERL system here in Europe. I have been involved with League of Legends since closed beta, kind of. So I'm over 10 years. I'm kind of dinosaur in League right now. I have been coaching the last 7 years, and I started in the pre-ERL system in Europe, where I had this really good team consisting of only Serbian players. To name a few, it was Milica, Sacre, Stefan Nicola, players that ended up in LCS in Europe or either in the Challenger Series back then. After that, I moved to Turkey, and I was taken there by Royal Bandits. In Royal Bandits, I was really blessed to have some really well-known players to NA scene. Closer, Abedage, Broken Blade, Freeze, all these players were under the same team. I kept staying there in order to become a better coach myself. So I continued there in the Royal Youth with Closer for the next 2 years, for the next 2 splits. There I had the pleasure to work also with players like Armut, some Koreans, Pilot and Seal as well. In general, the whole idea of every team, it was about development and creating the new next big names kind of inside those teams. This eventually led up to the Fenerbahce, where I had Hirit, Mojito, and Blue there, alongside Holy Phoenix and Farfetch. All these players ended up either playing at MSI eventually, or they ended up playing in LEC, and they had also Worlds appearances. And then moved on to Misfits in LEC. Also, they kind of followed this development pattern, having Hirit and Vithya also in that roster. And finished my last split before joining Dignitas with Nasr again in TCL at a similar idea of a project as well there.
Cool. What was the kind of process that led you from all of this history in Europe and all the different teams and players you've worked with, and then eventually joining Dignitas for the upcoming season?
In general, usually you don't hear this from many Europeans. I had been a really big fan of NA scene. So I truly believe that there is plenty of NA talent there, that it's up to people who actually value this talent to get the best out of it. So one of my goals coming over was, alongside any organization that I would join that end up being Dignitas, to find some players that actually get the best out of them moving into the NA scene. Henceforth, the Dignitas situation came over.
Yeah, was this something where you've been reaching out and approaching different people, or did they come and kind of find you, or how did that work?
I had the chance to talk in the past with Dignitas again, so I think we had kept a really good relationship together. I was talking with plenty NA organizations as well, but Dignitas were the ones that, in the end, they hit my door, and I just said, okay, I'm coming over there,
Cool. So in terms of the timeline of you getting involved with the team, and of course, off season, especially for a team that doesn't go to Worlds, the off season starts, relatively early in terms of planning and all that kind of stuff. How closely involved were you in putting together the Dignitas roster? Were you part of the team soon enough that you could kind of help to set the direction for that?
I didn't feel any type of pressure by the management. I think they gave me a really good freedom when it came down to creating the roster. They explained me basically the whole idea Dignitas had since last year. They had a 3-year development plan that on the first year, basically they want to find those NA players. And then on the year 2, to develop them even more, So on the year 3, basically we could have something more, a really consistent core. So once they explained me and they showed me the initial budgets that we would have going into this season, then they gave me the freedom to find the players that we wanted to fill some patches inside the team.
Okay. And what was the kind of the thought process you went through there? So you had you had certain players that were already in the organization, already under contract, and other players that you brought in from outside. Like, how do you go around developing a plan for that? How do you evaluate, this is a player we want to keep, this is a player that we think, we want to replace, here's a place where we need to go and look somewhere else in the free agent market? What's the kind of the thought process?
Well, the first thing actually, I have been watching a lot of LCS last year myself. So the first thing I want to do was get a good idea about the market regarding NA, which players potentially would be sold by their teams, which players would become free agent by their teams, and try to find votes, try to find replays, how they were doing, and try to get a good idea about their level and if they fit, if they check my boxes when it comes down inside the team. Something really important for me is, alongside the mechanical aspect, to have also players that they have a really good atmosphere inside the team. I want players that are good also at the game, but also they're actual human beings, and that we wouldn't end up having personality issues inside the team. So once this happened, then the first thing I went to check is actually which of these players would check my boxes from the last year team, from Dignitas. And Fagod and Neo were the top two candidates out of those players. I'm not saying that the rest, they didn't fit those boxes, right? But I think these two players had also the mechanical level plus the understanding of what I needed from them, moving forward into this year too. So it was instantly we started creating the roster with Fagod and Neo being our staples. And then slowly we kept putting pieces around them, according to their needs and according to what type of power they bring inside the roster.
When you've got a player who's another part of last year's Dignitas team, like aphromoo, who is going into free agency and you don't know whether he's going to choose, you have to decide from your end, do we want to make him an offer to stay? He has to decide from his end, does he want to take that offer or explore other things? What's kind of the pattern there of how you guys approached aphromoo and what led to him, you think, moving to a different team?
I mean, I don't know exactly what would go through Aphramoo's mind, right? Obviously, we had talks with him. I think the organization also was having talks before I would even sign with Dignitas. And Aphramoo was actually on our top targets, But in the end, there are some dynamics maybe that could affect his decision. Also, maybe getting a new coach or getting new players at the roster. Maybe this can push a player to go more to a safe zone rather than, maybe this is a whole new roster and I don't know how good it might end up being, So from Aphromoo's side, I think probably some type of process like this went through his mind. As for us, we were just evaluating Aphromoo the same way we were evaluating also the rest of the candidates that we wanted for the support role. Like when I'm creating a plan A, I want same time to be having a same level of plan B and plan C basically. And yes, Aphromoo was one of those three plans, right? But also we had to keep our cards open since he was entering the free agency.
Right. So you decided then, or you ended up bringing in Biofrost as the replacement support. And of course, people are going to know him from his legacy in North America, the things he's achieved in the teams he's been on. But he's been out of the competitive scene for a little while, wasn't playing last year anywhere. Why did you decide Biofrost was the best option to replace aphromoo as your LCS support?
So this actually answers a lot about the development project that Dignitas have set up since year one. So right now we're going into year two and we have Fagod and Neo that they're still kind of, you don't call it rookie year, but you call it the second rookie year kind of, right? So the whole idea would be to include at least 2 new players that could cover for this leadership role that potentially those rookie style players don't have yet. So getting Biofrost with me, it's not only like he's a coach inside the game, it's someone that easily can get my ideas and adapt them inside the game, but it's also someone that can lead those young talent inside the game, and also same time can help them with the experience that he's having as a player. I value a lot experience plus leadership skills when it comes down to the rest players being young individuals.
How did you evaluate Biofrost? Aside from knowing that he has all this actual experience, which you can just measure by the number of years he's played and the things he's won, how do you determine the level of leadership skills he has? Is that like a long interviewing process, or speaking to past teammates or coaches?
For sure, references was a big part of this. We had many talks actually with Biofrost as well. I had a good chance to get to know him a lot. He was really sincere with me about what are his strengths, what are his weaknesses, I asked him, okay, what I want from him to be doing inside this team, and my needs and his needs were really well aligned. Then I asked him what his previous experience. He explained what he was doing both in TSM and the teams before him. And then I just gave a call also to those people just to meet those points, right? And once this was guaranteed, then I said, okay, Bifrost is the guy that we need here.
Cool. Well, yeah. Well, I think that's a player that a lot of fans will be excited to see coming back from the past that he has. But let's talk about the team's 2 new imports. Can you walk me through kind of the scouting and selection process for both River and for Blue? Yeah,
sure. So I will start first with River. Actually, I have been monitored in River since 2017, I assume. See, it was season 7 anyway. Back then, he was just a Korean solo queue player. I want to bring him in many teams that I worked in the past, but it just didn't end up happening. He went to PCS, he went after that to Japan, if I remember correctly. So I never had the chance to actually take him with me. He was a player that was consistently since then over 1K points in the Korean server. He was actually a player that the way he plays, you can see that he's watching actually the map. He's not playing for himself, he plays actually for the team. And this is really huge combined with the mechanical level that he's bringing alongside with that. So imagine you have a player that he's good and actually he's playing for the team, then you have already a really good package. And if you monitor his history as a player, maybe his first rookie year and the second year as a competitive player wasn't the easiest one for him. I still think he did okay. I think he finished second in Japan. He missed just he just lost the finals, to enter MSI and Worlds. So after that, once he went to PSG Talon, it was PSG, I think, at the start, they were just starting with this dominant squad. They made the perfect season this year. They went 18-0. They went to MSI. They lost. They finished third, fourth place, and they lost to RNG that ended up winning it. They even managed to win one game over RNG. And River was always part of this. He was the heart of the team alongside Maple in that team. So this is really big. I think people don't understand that a team that's rolling well, it's actually depends a lot on the jungle, mid, and support. And River was part of all these rosters when it comes down to PSG these last 2 years. I think if River actually wasn't good, probably PSG would have replaced, considered he was the import there. But actually, they kept keeping him, And they were just changing the mid lane. They had different mid lane than they brought Maple, for example. And then River's potential truly unleashed, kind of. So seeing River reaching that potential, actually watching also his MSI performance this year and his Worlds this year, he brings to the team both international experience plus also this competitiveness, this drive that, hey, I'm not just coming to NA to call a development project, not enter players. I'm coming here because I want to fight for a spot into those playoffs. And this is a really great drive. Consider that Faggot and Neo made it also to playoffs last year. I wanted at least this team to be able to fight for those spots there. Mm-hmm. So I wanted players that they can actually push a bit higher the bar for the team. Under, sure, of course, the name of development through winning, right? Something also really great about River is that, yes, he's import, yes, he's Korean, maybe he's not talking English and stuff. Like, in every country he went, in every team that he joined, he learned the language. For example, he was in Japan, he learned Japanese. He was in PCS, he learned Chinese. Because he wants to lead his teammates, and he wants always to try to communicate inside the teams. He's a really vocal guy. Even right now that I'm talking with him, his English level is at 50-60%. Every day he keeps becoming better and better at this. So this shows me a really great person with a really big drive, moving in 2022. So except the mechanical and the gaming aspect, I think we had a really good person to join our team eventually. And if you combine his experience with Biofrost experience, I think you have already a good dynamic duo there.
Sure. So talk to me about Blue now. This is a player that you've got some history with.
Yeah.
And maybe we can just start, right up front that I think there's certainly a perception among a certain portion of the fans, at least, that this is a player just, you've worked with them before, so you just bring them in because you know them already, and it's just, something comfortable for you. What would you say to the fans that go in that way and kind of prejudge the selection based on that past experience you guys have?
Right. The most important thing is that I have coached so many players, both on individual level and in teams. So I could bring any one of them, why I decided to bring Blue? When I worked with him last time in Fenerbahce, Blue, under my guidance, had become the player of the split. He was the mid laner of the split. He was the biggest reason why we ended up winning that split. He was MVP of the finals. He won every possible reward someone can earn in TCL, for example. And the only player that I had seen doing this before was actually Closer. And I could find really big similarities between those two players. Like, I remember when I had the Blue, I was like, holy shit, this is just another Closer from the past. And I really value this type of players. I really like what they bring inside the team, both when it comes down to their drive to win, but also their drive to keep becoming a better version of themselves, split by split. Now, obviously, people could say, I want to just point this out, it doesn't have to do anything with personal relationship. Anyway, with Blue, we met just for one split in total, like 1.5 split, compared to other players, like I could bring Milica, for example, that I worked with him over 3 years, for example, Then maybe you could say there that actually it's about personal relationship. Or I could bring my mid lane from my last team, but actually decided to bring someone from the past that I really monitored his progress. I really had the chance to face him in scrims. I was scrimming a lot with SK from LEC, both while I was in Misfits and while I was in my TCL team. And actually Blue was a really great beast, Like we were like situations that we were saying, how are we going to stop Blue from winning this game, Not how we're going to stop SK from winning this game. Now, when it comes down to official games, I think we have to consider that Blue was come from his rookie year. And it's really common, I think, from rookie players to actually not give their 100% on the stage. So yes, you can make a debate whether if he was choking or if he was not choking. But I think this is really normal for a player that he's on his first year, especially when you're playing on LEC stage on the major region. So you can say that he's also part of this development process alongside Fagat and Neo.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just going to kind of expand on this a little bit and maybe get an idea of your expectations here, because in an interview Blue did with Travis Gafford, he listed a few mid laners that he's excited to face in the LCS. He named Bjergsen, he named Tukui, he named Fudge, and he set himself a personal goal, a big aspiration of becoming the best mid in the LCS, which is a great mindset for a player, right? As his coach, how do you expect him to kind of stack up, or how are you hoping he'll stack up in kind of the LCS mid lane tier list?
So in general, not only for Blue, but every type of player I'm working with, right? We are setting up the team goals and the individual goals. So if the individual goal that Blue is setting up for himself is, hey, I want to become the best mid laner, I'm going to support him and monitor his weaknesses and promote his strengths more while we're trying to cover those weaknesses. I think in Blue's case, it's more about experience right now rather than actually proving himself. Obviously, someone could go and make a debate then why SK didn't prove himself. But I think if you see the summer split, Blue had come from, I don't know if it was a disease or if it was sickness, but he lost the whole of season kind of because of that. And suddenly he comes back to his team, and he sees his coach being the main support in his team, and he sees his support having transitioned to jungler role. And whoever knows League of Legends knows that the mid lane is heavily impacted by those two roles. So if suddenly those two roles are, I don't want to say autofill because I have really big respect for Jace and Tritz, but if those roles are not that comfortable at playing on the LEC level especially, then what expectations can you have from your mid lane? Because I think any mid lane could go there and actually do the same. And if we notice something, a pattern that you can see for those that like the stats, right? That he played, I think, most of the games in the losing matchup, and the only games that he played on the winning matchup, I think he played 4 games in winning matchup. The 2 of them, he was MVP of his team, and the rest 2 others, he was like playing it at least a 50-50 laning. So this is already good enough to establish something good coming into the 2022 for Blue.
Sure. So when you kind of put all of that together, the players that you have, and you mentioned you're kind of approaching this as year 2 in a 3-year process. What kind of goals do you set for the team as a whole? What would be kind of a strong achievement a year from now that you'd say that year was, we achieved what we wanted to achieve?
What I told every player when I get to know each one of them one by one, basically I told them that at the end of the year, I just want them all to say, hey, we're better than when we started at the start of the year. And I want them also to say that it was a great year here in Dignitas, that the atmosphere that we created, the progress that we went all together, it was a great person. I feel like I'm a better person and I'm a better player at the end of the year. And this is, I think, my #1 priority. Now, obviously, I could go and say, yeah, we want to be in the playoffs and stuff, but it's useless to say I'm playoffs and I'm losing the first game of the season, because this is what happened with Dignitas last year, right? They went in the first game of the playoffs and they got 3-0, I think, both times, or 3-1 and 3-0. I don't remember exactly. And then they were out. So I want them at least this time to, if they end up ending up in the playoffs, to be actually a team that is here to put some competitiveness, and not a team that, hey, we're just here because the rest were bad, for example, or something. I want them all to say that I'm bad at this, I'm good at this, and at the end of the split, they will say I'm good at even more, and I'm bad at even less. And that is my biggest goal right now for Dignitas going into 2022.
Yeah, sounds good. To kind of throw in something on the end here, obviously Dignitas has been very late in announcing an academy roster, the only team that hasn't announced that yet. Is there anything you can share on the plans on the academy front?
Yeah, actually, we didn't announce it yet, but we have already pretty much finished also with our academy. So potentially next few days we will have also this announced. I'm really excited actually of the players that we brought with us in the academy. I think many people have question marks on who is this player, or how did they find this player, maybe. Maybe there will be many questions because they didn't play in the academy system the year before, at least the 3 out of 5 of them. But we are really excited from the tryouts that we were holding within Dignitas. And actually, in similar fashion to the main team, that we want to create mechanics and great personalities inside the composition. We have also a similar pattern also for the academy. And we're really excited with what we're bringing there, both on the mechanical aspect, but also on a teammate aspect.
Yeah, great. I'm looking forward to having that information be out there and be able to discuss, and look forward to what you guys are building, and of course, developing players, as you mentioned, players that are coming in who haven't played in academy before. So hopefully everything will be able to get out there and get announced, and start looking forward to next season. So thanks very much for spending this time with me, Elias. Is there anything that you want to kind of shout out, or any final message you have for the fans?
I think when it comes down to fans, what I would like to tell them is that here in Dignitas, we are just working all together to promote the team better. We're not trying to scam, or we're not trying to bury any talent in an A or something, because many people have this opinion lately, right? Like, what we try to do is to promote what the organization invested already from the year before, and what we can do better moving forward into the future. So give us the time, be patient with us, and we won't disappoint you by the end of it. This is what is most important right now. Right now, people here need more your support rather than your judgment on them. This goes more, of course, for Blue and River, but also it could go also for why Biofrost and not why someone younger, for example. So there is a reason why these people are being picked right now, and there is a whole behind the scenes, you could say, when it comes down to our decision. And I want you to be patient, and we'll give our best when it comes down to performance in LCS in 2022.
Great. Well, thanks again for spending this time with me, and thank you to everyone for watching, and wish you all the best of luck in the year to come.
Thank you so much.